So, what if you decide to start out charging high prices? Now, that's a bold decision and it's not one to take lightly, but it can be done. Most people prefer to get established first before they begin charging high prices. But if you want to start out that way, or even if you've been around for a while and want to reinvent yourself and start charging a lot more, there are a few things to consider. So if you want to charge a lot of money for your photography, your customers are going to need significantly more exposure to you and your work, and they need more intense exposure to it. They are going to need to understand your pricing structure before they even hire you, because high-priced items often create anxiety. And that should make sense, because people don't want to part with a lot of money if they have a feeling they may end up being dissatisfied. So the exposure helps to alleviate some of this anxiety because they will at least have some familiarity with you. So they need to become desensitized to the prices. It's sort of like getting over sticker shock. One way you can help them get over this anxiety is to offer them a guarantee. So if you could count on every prospect buying from you because of a guarantee, what would that guarantee be? Would it be a free reshoot if they're unhappy? Would it be a lifetime warranty on any prints that they buy? And it's important to set expectations with your customers. Right or wrong, customers have developed a sense of entitlement when it comes to getting what they pay for. And rightfully so, it's their money, they can spend it on whatever they want. And nowadays they want and expect to get more for less. So how can you differentiate yourself from your competitors and add value that they can't? It all comes down to the experience that you create. Your shooting style and processing style factor into that immensely, but the experience is as important, if not more important, than the actual product. So just think about this. One of my favorite examples is Disney. You go to Disney and you pay way too much money to wait forever in line to ride on a ride that really isn't that great. And then you buy overpriced food that is just okay, and you have to deal with crowds of people. So why do people do that? It's really all because of the experience. It's so people's kids can have the experience and experience the magic. You know, it's the happiest place on earth. It's where they get to see real life versions of their favorite Disney characters and meet them, and it just generates a feeling that they'll never forget. I mean, the Disney Corporation is the master of the experience. So what can you learn from Disney? What can you incorporate into your photography that creates an experience that will separate you from your competitors? Now, I'm not saying that you need to build rides or hire cartoon characters to hang out with you during a photo session, but I'm sure you can think of things that your customers will value that you can implement. So think about it and come up with something. Now, you don't have to find the answer immediately. Just let it sit on your mind for a while and you'll come up with something. How can you tailor the experience around your particular style? Can you offer champagne at a portrait session, to help them relax? Can you bring balloons to a kid's portrait session so that they can have fun while they get their photos taken? So consider the whole experience from the booking session to the ordering to the final delivery. And don't just think about your immediate customers. What can you do that would give your customers reasons to refer their friends, family, and acquaintances? What kind of experience can you create that is so memorable that people want to talk about it and share it with other people? People will happily pay much more for an experience because of the rarity of the experience if they think it will be enjoyable and a positive experience for them. Unfortunately, most photographers don't tailor experiences to their client, and they are missing a crucial element to the way businesses need to operate in our modern society. So the experience you provide ties into value, which subsequently ties into pricing. And your pricing sends a strong message to your market. If you're delivering value through an experience or through customer intimacy, you should be priced on the high side. A low price would be inconsistent with your services and experience, and it tends to send the wrong message to your customer, and it will probably drive them away. But on the other hand, if you're offering the same services as everyone else at the same level of quality with the same experience, then you're basically a commodity and your pricing will need to be competitive. But then you'll just be competing on price. So the perceived value will be lower since they can get those types of services anywhere, and then you'll just be considered similar to a generic brand. And then you'll be right there with the majority of the population. So your pricing must be consistent with the service you provide. Now let's talk about the concept of price sensitivity. Price sensitivity is the measurement of how pricing changes affects purchases. And there's a method to determine price sensitivity. It's a percentage change in quantity purchased divided by percentage change in price. So I'm not going to dig into that at all. What I want to do is just familiarize you with the concept of price sensitivity so that you can know when to start making changes in your pricing. So the first thing you should know about price sensitivity is that the higher your price, the less likely someone is going to be to buy it if everything else is equal. So to put that more concisely, a higher price tends to equal a lower volume of sales, usually but not always. But as a photographer, that's actually good news because your business isn't immediately scalable. And that's because one of your largest constraints is your time. Actually, your main constraint is time. So you see, where many companies sell products that are mass produced, when there's a demand spike, all they have to do is increase their production. And that's what I mean by scalability. You don't have scalability because of your time constraint. You can't make more time. Sure, you could scale up your production by hiring people or other photographers to take on additional work, but you really only marginally increase your sales. So essentially, a photography business is not scalable. But with a lack of scalability, you should appreciate a lower workload with a higher price. But you can only charge a higher dollar amount to a point, and that's where price sensitivity comes in. So you got to find out at what point does your target think that your pricing is too expensive. Because at some point, your prospects will no longer pay the price you're asking. They'll think you're too expensive and walk away. So you have a couple of options. You could lower your pricing below that threshold, or find someone or target someone who will pay your price. And that's easier said than done, but it is still possible. At the other end of the spectrum, at what point does your target think that your offerings are too inexpensive that it will question the quality of your work? So what you need to be is like Goldilocks and find out the price where your prospects think your pricing is just right. In other words, at what price are your products and services a great value for the price that you're asking? Finally, price sensitivity is based on other variables that are generally beyond your control. And these variables are your prospects' perception of several different factors. Factors like what is happening in the industry. Photography seems to attract either the cheap or the expensive, and it's kind of hard to compete in the middle. Another factor is geographic location. Different areas command higher rates simply based on their location. For example, it's much more expensive to do business in Los Angeles than it is to do business somewhere in Wyoming. So someone living in Wyoming is unlikely to pay Los Angeles prices for their photography. And that should make sense because much of pricing has to do with the cost of doing business. Another factor is the competition. What are competitors doing? The biggest factors that count for price sensitivity are the emotions, wants, and the needs of the customers. Customers with distinct needs are less sensitive to increasing prices than prospects who are rather indifferent. So that's why it's crucial to know what your customers' needs and desires are. Another factor that is important is the current state of the economy. People are less willing to part with the money when the economy isn't doing so well, but they're much freer with their spending when the economy is booming. And also, seasonal activities are key factors in price sensitivity. People are likely to spend more money around specific holidays than they are the rest of the year. Sort of like getting portraits done for your significant other during Valentine's Day.